President Zelensky is preparing to travel to London for a summit of European leaders on Sunday after he clashed with President Trump and Vice President Vance in an extraordinary shouting match on a visit to the Oval Office. President Trump accused the Ukrainian leader of gambling with World War III and of not being grateful for the support of the US. President Zelensky made it clear there should be no compromises with President Putin. Following all that drama, the president of Ukraine was ordered to leave the White House and a much-anticipated minerals deal was not signed. The US president later said President Zelensky could return when he was ready for peace. Our North America editor Sarah Smith has this report.
Donald Trump began the day confident he was about to sign a very advantageous deal with Ukraine. These kind of events are all very carefully planned and they usually do stick to the script. You sit down in the Oval Office, with all of the accompanying press, where the conversation starts with pleasantries, sometimes even a little joke.
And I do like your clothing, by the way.
Yeah, really?
There are obvious tensions. President Zelensky wants security guarantees from America that Donald Trump says are not on offer. But it was a jibe from a reporter about Mr. Zelensky's outfit that actually set the aggressive tone.
Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest. Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if you do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not respecting the dignity of this office.
I will wear costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes.
He was accused of being disrespectful in his dress and in his attitude, for refusing to agree to what Donald Trump thinks a peace deal in Ukraine should look like, for explaining his fears for his country.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all,
This is the moment a disagreement became a full-blown fight. Donald Trump is clearly furious, and you'll see the two leaders start angrily talking over each other, fingers pointing, tempers fraying.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly
Remember
what you're doing.
this. You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. If you didn't have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3 days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days. This is something
maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course, yes.
It's going to be a very hard thing to do business like this.
They obviously cannot agree on a ceasefire like this, with Donald Trump as angry as he has ever appeared in public. Volodymyr Zelensky refusing to back down, enraging the American president even further. They may never agree on whether Vladimir Putin can be trusted to stick to the terms of any deal.
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. You're either going to make a deal or we're out. And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh? This is going to be great television, I will say that.
They were then meant to sit down and enjoy a working lunch before signing a deal that had already been agreed to allow American access to critical mineral mining in Ukraine. Instead, President Zelensky was instructed to leave the White House. Donald Trump posted on social media, "I've determined that President Zelensky is not ready for peace if America's involved, because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations." He disrespected the United States of America in its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he's ready for peace. As he got ready to leave, the cameras lined up, ready to catch Mr. Zelensky being expelled from the White House. He knows he needs American backing to fight the war. He needs American support to get what he wants in any peace deal. Right now, he's made an enemy of the one man he really needs as an ally. Sarah Smith, BBC News, Washington.
So how has this exchange been viewed in Kyiv? Here's the take of our Ukraine correspondent, James Waterhouse.
This leaves Ukraine having to fight on. There is no respite from the day-to-day full-scale invasion it continues to combat. If you look at Donald Trump, perhaps suggesting the door is still open, perhaps if you look at President Zelensky still thanking America after that extraordinary exchange, perhaps there is still some collaborating to be done down the line. But it increasingly feels like this was less to do with a mineral deal. For President Zelensky, this was about trying to entice America into a deeper level of cooperation. And clearly, this proposal, this contract, wasn't as enticing for Kyiv as perhaps the White House was suggesting. We thought that America had dropped its demand for $500 billion worth of natural minerals. And we thought that perhaps, ahead of President Zelensky's departure from here, that maybe America was going to, in turn, provide the security guarantees, the military promises it wants to prop up any ceasefire in the future. Because what Ukraine and Europe agree on is that they still need America to be there in case this war was to reignite. But at the moment, it seems you have a White House refusing to commit to that, despite lengthy diplomatic efforts over the course of this week. And you saw a President Zelensky there seemingly having to stand his ground. I mean, the people you speak to here in Kyiv, we spoke to a couple last night, they were pleased. They thought President Zelensky had no choice. There are some MPs who felt he could have been a bit more tactile in the face of a verbal attack by the President and Vice President of the United States. But broadly speaking, there's a rule in Ukraine, there's a pattern. Whenever the country is under threat, be it from the invasion or whether it's President Zelensky himself, it fuels a political unity where you'll have his most fierce political rivals. And they don't hold back in Parliament. There is a deep division on domestic issues like mobilisation, for example. But in these periods, there is unity because the country does not want to appear divided, not least in the face of Russia.
James Waterhouse there for us in Kyiv. Well, European leaders have been rallying behind Ukraine, expressing their full backing of Kyiv's efforts to repel Russia's invasion. The British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, fresh off his own visit to the White House, spoke to both President Trump and President Zelensky. A spokesperson said Sir Keir retains unwavering support for Ukraine and is doing all he can to find a path forward to a lasting peace based on sovereignty and security for Ukraine, adding that the Prime Minister looks forward to hosting an international leaders summit on Sunday, including President Zelensky. A string of other US allies, including France, Germany and Poland, also issued statements of support. The French President Emmanuel Macron said on X that there is an aggressor, Russia, and there is a victim, Ukraine. Prime Minister of Poland, Donald Tusk, wrote, "Dear Zelensky, dear Ukrainian friends, you are not alone." Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau offered his support, writing that Canada will continue to stand with Ukraine and Ukrainians in achieving a just and lasting peace. Meanwhile, President Trump was praised by Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, who said that the US leader stood for peace. And former Russian President Dmitry Medvedev applauded Mr. Trump, calling President Zelensky an insolent pig who got a proper slapdown.